It's been 43 years since Western legend John Wayne died of cancer, but his legacy lives on, despite being recently tarnished by controversy. A couple of years ago, a 1971 Playboy interview resurfaced that quoted Wayne as saying he believed in white supremacy, felt no remorse for the plight of Native Americans who lost their ancestral lands to European colonialism, and several other inflammatory opinions. When media outlets and social media users caught wind of these statements, calls were made for the John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California, to be renamed. On top of that, many people suddenly made it their mission to effectively cancel the late film star entirely. In response, Wayne's children came forward to defend their father's honor. Not only did the Duke's kids paint a different picture of their dad, but many people who had previously worked with Wayne on the set of his films have also shared fond memories that seem to contradict the narrative that he was a bigot. Granted, his words in that interview speak for themselves, and they're pretty difficult to read given modern sensibilities and values. Likewise, not everyone who had the pleasure, or perhaps displeasure, of working alongside John Wayne had glowing things to say. Join Factsverse as we detail what John Wayne's former co-stars revealed about what he was really like on set. John Wayne's private and political views. Wayne was a lifelong conservative and member of the Republican Party. He was especially opposed to the spread of far-left ideologies and communism. While he would typically vote for right-wing candidates, he did vote for the Democrat Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1936 election and expressed support for Roosevelt's immediate successor, Harry Truman. Wayne later supported Richard Nixon in the 1960 presidential election, but when JFK won the vote, he patriotically expressed that even though he didn't vote for him, he wished him well in his presidency. In that controversial 1971 Playboy interview, Wayne voiced spirited support for the Vietnam War, in addition to making those polarizing and offensive statements on race relations. He said that he, quote, believed in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. Wayne went on to elaborate his point by sharing he didn't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership to what he labeled as irresponsible people. He later expanded upon these views, saying he didn't believe America did anything wrong by taking the lands of the Native Americans. Ron Howard took Wayne's advice. In 1976, Wayne and Howard appeared alongside each other in the Duke's final film, The Shootist. The film was released just 3 years prior to John's death in 1976. Reflecting on his experience working alongside Wayne, Ron Howard said his most powerful bit of acting advice came from him. Wayne's words of wisdom for the young up-and-coming actor and filmmaker were fairly straightforward. He told Howard to talk low, talk slow, and not say too much. John Wayne intimidated Dennis Hopper with a gun. Dennis joined John on the set of True Grit, the only movie to ever earn the Duke an Oscar. Hopper hailed from a different generation of Tinseltown stars. The same year True Grit hit theaters, he made his mark with his appearance in Easy Rider. Looking back at his time working with the iconic film star, Hopper recalled the day he showed up to the set of True Grit, Wayne was asking crew members where that pinko Hopper was hiding. While searching for his co-star, Wayne reportedly was walking around set with a gun on his hip, but Hopper didn't think he was actually out to off him. Rather, he believes Wayne simply wanted to have a political discussion with him. Fortunately, nothing ever came of that incident, and Hopper went on to live another day unscathed. Kirk Douglas didn't think John Wayne was a particularly great actor. This film legend lived a long and prolific life, dying at age 103 in 2020. Throughout his film career, he was fortunate enough to have worked with Wayne on several films, including Harm's Way, Cast a Giant Shadow, and The War Wagon. Although the two stars had excellent on-screen chemistry, they often clashed over political matters, seeing as Douglas held very liberal views and was a Democrat. But despite their differences, Douglas still held his colleague in high regard and understood what made him the star he was. Douglas said the thing that made John Wayne such a distinguished star was that he always played himself. Kirk didn't think Wayne was a particularly great actor, but he had charisma, was likable, and had undeniable star power. Douglas was quoted as saying that it wasn't Wayne who served the roles, it was the roles that served him. Ann-Margret refused to call Wayne the Duke. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Ann-Margret appeared in some of the most iconic films of the 60s and 70s. Only once, however, did she share the screen with John Wayne. That was the 1973 Western The Train Robbers, which failed to become a commercial hit, but it has garnered somewhat of a cult following since its release. John Wayne's nickname was, of course, the Duke. It was a moniker he went by since childhood, and one that almost everyone in his orbit used endearingly. Ann-Margret, however, couldn't bring herself to utter it. In 2014, she spoke to Interview Magazine. During that discussion, she finally revealed why she refused to call Wayne by that title. She said it was her upbringing that kept her from using the nickname. When she first arrived in the States after her family relocated from Sweden, Ann-Margret and her mother didn't speak a lick of English. When learning American formalities, she was taught that when you make someone's acquaintance, you were expected to refer to them as either Mr., Miss, or Mrs., and then stand up and curtsy. So, simply put, she couldn't bring herself to call Wayne the Duke merely because of ingrained social norms. Wayne's feud with Katharine Hepburn. Paul Kaslow, John Wayne's co-star in the 1975 film Rooster Cogburn, recently revealed a few juicy details about the Duke's storied and often strained relationship with legendary actress Katharine Hepburn. Speaking to the outlet A Word on Westerns, Kaslow said the two icons of the silver screen were frequently at odds with each other. He revealed one of the key reasons for their disagreements was their conflicting political beliefs. Hepburn was a Democrat while Wayne was a diehard Republican. Beyond that, Hepburn especially clashed with Wayne over his unwavering support for the House Un-American Activities Committee's role in what was an anti-leftist witch hunt. In the process of outing alleged communists, a great many Hollywood actors and filmmakers were blacklisted, essentially having their careers obliterated. At one point, Katharine Hepburn grew so tired of Wayne's perspective, she refused to work with him. She later changed her mind, appearing opposite John in Rooster Cogburn, but even years later, Hepburn still presented Wayne in a pretty dismal light. During filming, Hepburn recalled Wayne would often get into heated arguments with the cast and crew. At one point, he even screamed at director Stuart Miller for having him repeat a shot more times than he felt necessary. After the movie finished, Katharine approached Wayne at the wrap party and told him off, saying she was glad she didn't know him when he still had 2 lungs, because he must have been a real bastard back then. Kaslow spoke further on his memories of Wayne when he shared a story about the time he first met the star on the sequel to True Grit. He said his first impression of Wayne was less than flattering. When introducing himself, Kaslow said he was playing the character Luke the Duke. With a sour look on his face, Wayne snapped back saying, "No, you're not. You're playing Luke the Puke, because there could only be one Duke around here." Needless to say, the two didn't become close friends, but they still managed to set their differences aside long enough to finish the film. Maureen O'Hara had nothing but glowing things to say. O'Hara and Wayne appeared alongside each other in some of the Duke's most beloved films, including Rio Grande, McClintock, and The Quiet Man. When later asked what her thoughts were on her former co-star, O'Hara says she wished all actors could be more like Wayne. She went on to express she wished more people could be as honest and genuine as he was, and she said he was a real man. Charlton Heston didn't think Wayne was right for period roles. Film buffs know Wayne and Heston appeared together in the 1965 biblical epic The Greatest Story Ever Told. In that film, Heston portrayed John the Baptist, while Wayne was given a comparatively minor cameo. Heston was once quoted as saying, "While there are actors who excel in period roles, others can't pull it off." He put Wayne in the category of those who couldn't perform well in such roles, saying, "God knows he couldn't play a first-century Roman." Now it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on John Wayne? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.